You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Radio Show, only on Financial News and Talk. Now live in studio, your host, local and national real estate expert and consumer advocate, Ron Siegel.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots, you know, the actions you can take, how your family or business can benefit from current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. But before we get into our intriguing content today, please join me in welcoming our featured guest and repeater on Ron Siegel Radio. Chris Karalis is with us. Good morning.
Good morning, Ron.
Glad to have you with us.
Thank you, buddy.
And let me remind you, if you ever have any home or finance related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you. And you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Just remember that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
While I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan or plan to save you money, I personally work with you. Even if you don't have any needs today, save this number in your phone for future reference, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And yes, we're celebrating today. We celebrate every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Now, I'm looking at the first one that I have on my list here of celebrations today. Tell me you didn't do this. Just tell me you were not one of the people that did this, because I'm going to be flat out honest, which I always am. I did it. Step in a puddle and splash your friend's day. Now, Chris is over here laughing because he did it too. Did you do that, Chris?
I'm going to plead the fifth on that one.
Yeah, I think the question is, how many times did Chris do it?
Right.
How many times did Ron do it? Not did we do it? Just throwing that out there for you. Yeah. National Milk Day. I don't know. I can't remember the last time I had a glass of milk. Unless maybe, you put a little cream in the coffee, put a little cream in the Kahlua. Bailey's, I don't think Bailey's counts as milk. I don't know. I don't know. Milk Day.
Yeah. Well, hey.
I think we'll just move right along here. Let's take a look and see what the markets are doing. You know, it's just amazing watching these markets and what's going on in the markets right now. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, talk about a roller coaster. It's up 170 points right now. I think I saw it down as much as 190 earlier in the day. Oh, wait a second. It just clicked. So I guess my screen must have been off a bit, because now it's showing as down 232. It didn't jump that much just now. So down 233 points. S&P 500 is down 36. NASDAQ is down 142. Oil's up $2 a barrel. And the 10-year Treasury, pretty flat, 4.029, which is fascinating when you think about what's going on in the world. Now we get a CPI report, the inflation report, and it was pretty close to being what was expected. We'll talk about more about that in the Mortgage Minute. Fascinating. That's fascinating to me in itself, because it says it's pretty much where it's expected and not going up too much. When was the last time you went to the grocery store? Did you notice anything that was not going up too much? I forgot what it was. I just made a comment the other day that something that I was paying $9 for is now like $14. Everything is going up like crazy. Not going to change. Now, gasoline prices, those haven't gone up too much. But even that, well, we're in Calizuela, so it's $4.61 a gallon. Look over there at Josh at $3.85. And my loan assistant, Arian, $2.66 a gallon. Now, I again, we just watch things that are going on in this world. So our governor, Gruesome, he talks about the fact that the oil companies are gouging the people. Only in California, though, because they're not gouging the rest of the country. California, $4.67.5 a gallon is the average for a gallon of gasoline. The only place in the country that's higher than California is Hawaii. They don't have any refineries there, and they're only a few cents a gallon more expensive. The nation as a whole, $3.07 a gallon. Again, we're at $4.61. And this guy wants to be president of the United States. Could you imagine what he could do to the country with what he's doing to California? I mean, we did have a budget surplus a couple years ago. Now he was proud of the fact that the media has it wrong. We don't have a $68 billion deficit. It's only $34 billion. Wow. Isn't that great? He's a fiscal genius. We're only over $30 billion in debt. And think about this. We've got a booming, so they say, economy. Right? We've got almost full employment. Most of the country's around 3.7% unemployment. California, we know, 4.8%. I wonder if you could do that for the whole country. I digress. So we've got a budget deficit, and this guy thinks that he should be the next president of the United States. Now, we know Joe's not sure what day it is yet, so we're still worried about that part. You know, he goes out and gives a speech, and you have to wonder that our president hasn't met with his cabinet, the entire cabinet. Now, pretty important stuff, right? We got a war. We're being attacked all over the place. Over 100 times our military has been attacked since the beginning of October. And our president hasn't met with his cabinet since October. Does that make sense to anybody? Now, you look, and even the biggest companies in the world, they meet with their board of directors more than once a quarter. The Secretary of Defense, pretty important position. You know, he's in the hospital for a week, and the president doesn't know it because, well, he was out getting a suntan or something. I don't know what he was doing. But there's a lot going on in the world, and these things are not changing. Yet I look at the mortgage-backed securities. They're up 15 basis points right now, which means interest rates are down. The 10-year Treasury is flat. We're looking at the unemployment numbers, which we're going to get a shock next week. That's my forecast. I have a crystal ball. It doesn't work very well, but I do watch it. So this week, the unemployment numbers came in fairly close to where they've been. But the last 2 weeks in a row, which is the weeks that we've been covering, there was holidays. Now, I don't know about you. If I was unemployed, I'm not sure the first place I'm going during Christmas or New Year's is to the unemployment office to file for unemployment benefits. Maybe there are some people that are different. That's going to catch up. When is it going to catch up? I don't know when that'll catch up, but it will. We're going to talk about that. We're going to also talk about the fact that now we're seeing something new in our country with the holidays, and it's coming out in these earnings reports and some of the commentary from holiday spending. We have used all of our savings. We're not getting any of the COVID benefits. We've now maxed out our credit cards, and we've gone to something called delayed spending or delayed payments. That's the newest one, where you can pay over the next 6 months. Now, I don't know about you, but my credit cards don't quite work the same as the federal government. I can't go out and just say, you know something, I'm going to increase the limits this year. Doesn't work that way. You got to pay the bill. But maybe there's a way of getting around that 30% interest rate that they're charging. And we're going to talk about that. With no guarantees, but we're going to give you some ideas when we talk to Chris Karalis. I've only known him 20 years and I can't. Chris Karalis today. We're going to talk about that. The dramatic impact of homeownership on net worth. We'll talk about that. How a New Year's spending fast can help you get back on track financially. Josh, I'm going to have to get to this story today because it makes me nervous every time I talk about fasts. You know, I've beaten anorexia. I don't do any fasting. So we're going to talk about that as well. You can reach me anytime off air, number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com. Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
Are you earning a safe, secure 10+% return on your investments? Is your credit score over 800? Are you living in the home of your dreams or simply where you think you can afford? If the answer to any of these questions is no, what are you doing about it? Text ATP to 79564. Complete a 3-minute complimentary survey and the area trusted professionals of Ron Siegel Radio will reach out to you to develop a success strategy for you. Again, all you need to do is text ATP to 79564.
Do you know a homeowner experiencing divorce? Do you know a real estate reference and the divorce decree could cost tens of thousands of dollars? A certified divorce mortgage planning and real estate report could save you thousands of dollars, and it's free from your local certified divorce lending professional. Reach out to Ron today. RonIsMyLender.com. Again, RonIsMyLender.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel Lending Team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel Lending Team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 018694452.
Are you a renter and tired of making monthly payments? Paying off someone else's mortgage? Hey, it's Ron Siegel here to help you stop renting and start owning your dream home with amazing low interest rates. And you could potentially qualify for a $500,000 home for less than $5,000 out of pocket. So stop renting. Start owning with Ron Siegel. Learn more at RonSiegelRadio.com and start owning today. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
Are you like many of your neighbors trying to figure out how to pay off your debts so you could retire someday? Build bigger savings. Invest in opportunities. Visit rsrnodebt.com. Debt will destroy 50% of Americans from being able to retire earlier and with more. What if you could have a guaranteed program that could show you how to eliminate all of your debt in 10 years or less, all without having to spend more each month than you spend right now? Yes, that's correct. All without spending more from your checkbook each month than you are today. Get your free analysis today to see if you qualify. Visit rsrnodebt.com. Log on today for your free analysis. rsrnodebt.com. No purchase necessary. The free analysis takes only 2 minutes. rsrnodebt.com. Ron Siegel Radio is your home and mortgage connection. Go to rsrnodebt.com. rsrnodebt.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. If you have a phone, make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Every day at this time, OBMMI, they provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates. They don't tell us points paid, points received, or APR. They tell us the actual locked rates with consumers across 42% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. 30-year conforming loans, 6.656. That's where they locked at yesterday. Down a little bit. 30-year jumbo loans, 6.977. Down quite a bit yesterday. 30-year FHA loans, those were up yesterday, just a touch. 6.503 USDA loans. That's the rural areas, generally no down payment. 6.472, down a bit. And the best loan on the market, that's our 30-year VA loan, 6.207. If you want our commentary on what's happening in the mortgage market and the mortgage world, as early as the data provides every morning, every business morning, rsrmarketminute.com, rsrmarketminute.com. We send that out again as early as the data allows. We put it out first by email to our subscribers, which you can be one for free. And then we try and get it onto the socials if I have time before the radio broadcast. What's going on today? Let's look at that now and see. Hopefully the charts have updated themselves this morning. The S&P 500 is down 32 points. I don't watch this one very often, but Bitcoin is up just a little bit today because they've decided that you can do it in an ETF now. That's the reason why that one is going and moving the way it is. The 10-year Treasury is flat, 4.03. We talked about that. Mortgage-backed securities are up 17 basis points. We've talked about that. Bond up 17 basis points means yield or the interest rate is down. It's not down in a percentage, is not equal to 1-to-1. So it's a factor in there. So it's down just a little bit. What's driving it? Because all that information, if you wanted to, which we appreciate and never take for granted the fact that you're listening to us on Ron Siegel Radio, you can get that information on the super secret website, google.com. But here's what's driving this. Consumer Price Index, December's report, showed that overall inflation rose 0.3% for the month, which was 1/10 higher than estimates. Year-over-year inflation increased from 3.1 to 3.4%. Big part of the increase was a very low comparison last year. Hopefully, it's going to improve at some point. Core rate, that strips out food and energy. I'm sure there's somebody that doesn't need food and energy, but the core rate takes that out legitimately. That's because the Federal Reserve says they can't control that. Increased by 0.3%, in line with estimates year over year. Core CPI declined from 4% to 3.9%. 1/10 hotter than estimates, but significant that it is in the threes now. It's called a 3 handle. And that's a big issue because the Federal Reserve wants that to be 2.0. So they claim they're not going to be, they're going to keep the monetary or the fiscal policy tighter, monetary policy tighter. Fiscal is the federal government. Can't get them to tighten up their belt on anything. Energy prices rose 0.4% with gasoline up 0.2%. This one is another one that has those of us who follow these numbers have no life scratching our heads. Used car prices were higher and rose by 0.5%, even though during the measured period they were lower in the Manheim and the Car Guru Used Car Index. Manheim is the largest seller of used cars in America. Unbelievable. I mean, they have a facility right around the corner from where we broadcast. They move 2,400 cars a week through that facility. They know what's going on with used cars. They say the prices are dropping. In this report, they're increasing. Eventually, that's going to catch up. Shelter costs make up 44% of the core index. Those rose 0.5%. Those have been cooling off too. Shelter is now up 6.2% year over year, down from 6.5%. Rents rose 0.4% last month and are up 6.5% year over year, down from 6.9% in the previous report. Owner's equivalent rent, that's kind of a fake number because most owners are not in real estate. So they get owner's equivalent rent by calling up the homeowner and saying, what could you rent your house for? I talk to people all the time, and I've never heard people that really have a good idea, a good handle on what they could rent their house for. But they use it in the report anyway. So that one rose 0.5%, up 6.3% year over year, down from 6.7%. Lodging away from home, hotels, Airbnb, Vrbo, rose 0.4%. Thankfully, that's a small portion of that index because it's very, very volatile. Rent should be coming in lower than the 0.4% as we've been seeing real-time figures cool significantly, but we may have to wait a few more months based on when the BLS pulls their rental data. March, April, I've been telling you, interest rates are going to really start coming down probably second quarter of this year. Unfortunately, I believe that'll coincide with our recession and 5.5% unemployment rates. Throw that out there. Motor vehicle insurance makes up 3.6% of core reading, rose 1.5%, continues to work against us. Again, this has been impacted by natural disasters, flooding, car theft, which is at a 15-year high. Fed can't control those things. Health insurance rose 1.1%. That's all because of new ways they're calculating. A lot of stuff in the report. New York Fed president. He's an important guy, John Williams. So he's hedging his bet. He made some comments yesterday that were not too bond friendly, saying that to ensure a smooth transition, Fed never does a smooth transition. The Fed intends to slow and then stop the decline in the size of the balance sheet when reserve balances are somewhat above the level it judges to be consistent with ample reserves. Kamala Harris wrote that for him. I have no clue what the heck he's talking about. And I study this stuff. That's the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call. 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Joe Ingram, you're right. I never take you watching us for granted. I appreciate you, buddy. Joe has the #2 podcast in his household or something like that. I don't know where he's, but I know I saw on social media #2 podcast. I think it was in his household, but I'm not sure. Glad to have you with us, Joe. Chris Karalis is with us, and Chris is always leading edge. He's always got something going on that's leading edge. And when Chris and I met each other 100 years ago in the mortgage world,
yep.
You were doing technology as much as anything else.
Yep.
And started doing some real green stuff for a long time.
Yep.
And now you're out helping people that have serious debt problems.
Yes. Yeah.
Explain that a little bit.
So after what you just said, I mean, I you listen and you're like, did you have a good time? Like, this is like the worst trip ever. You know what you're just saying. And this is like the light at the end of the tunnel is the way to look at it. But ultimately, a lot of people are in a bad place financially, as you know. Credit card rates are up. People are in a position where they can't pay their bills.
Right.
And I'm talking to clients that are on a daily where they had a $10,000 credit card limit. They have great credit and they have $3,000, $4,000 on their credit card. And now the credit card company has now cut the limit to $3,000, $4,000. And now they're at 100% utilization. And now they're at a position where they have to get a second credit card and they can't get a card, or they get a second credit card. Now the rates are higher. And it's this domino.
Well, something that's kind of we had Sarah Perkins was on with us yesterday. Mm-hmm. And she's with our friends over at Blue Water Credit. And, we were talking about credit ratings and credit scores and FICO scores. And these credit companies, from what you just said, are sabotaging the consumer.
Yes.
Right? Because if you have a $10,000 credit card and you've got a $3,000 used,
yes,
you've got a 30% utilization rate.
Your credit's great.
Which is great credit.
Yep.
Now you take and cut the limit to $3,000. You're at 100% utilization rate.
Correct.
And you probably just lost 40 points on your credit score.
Yeah, if not more.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And this has happened to Americans across the nation right now.
Right. I mean, that's just so they're really just, stiffing the people, which, this is the credit companies doing that. It doesn't surprise me when I see the credit bureaus do it. And I never ask my guests to get into this conversation with me because it is my opinion. And just my opinion, and I'm right, that the credit card bureaus, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, are incentivized to stiff you, the consumer, and have your credit scores lower. Why? Because they make more money that way. So if you if you owe anything on credit cards, you go outside to your mail, and you're getting solicitations all the time from companies that want to do debt consolidation work.
Right.
Debt consolidators are not buying the credit information of the person that has a 780, 800, 825 FICO score.
More or less. I agree with that.
Right? They're buying the guy that's got a 450, a 500, 550, 600. because those people need help.
Correct.
You're not spending money on somebody that doesn't need your services,
Correct.
right? I mean, probably on your call list today is not Warren Buffett,
Probably not.
right? Because he doesn't need cash,
Right. Absolutely.
right? Shohei's not on your call list,
Right.
right? He doesn't need that cash.
Right.
The guy that's having trouble and he's buying dog food instead of ground beef, he needs help,
Correct.
right? We're going to talk more about how Chris can help when we come back. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate current events and the financial markets, dramatic impact of home ownership on net worth, how a New Year's spending fast can help you get back on track financially, and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, shame on you. But the replay is available. Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel Lending Team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel Lending Team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 018694452.
Are you earning a safe, secure 10+% return on your investments? Is your credit score over 800? Are you living in the home of your dreams or simply where you think you can afford? If the answer to any of these questions is no, what are you doing about it? Text ATP to 79564. Complete a 3-minute complimentary survey, and the area trusted professionals of Ron Siegel Radio will reach out to you to develop a success strategy for you. Again, all you need to do is text ATP to 79564.
Hey friends, do you dream of mortgage-free home ownership? Are you aware that even if you own your home free and clear, it could still be costing you thousands per year? The Siegel Lending Team can help you generate tax-free income, accumulate family wealth, and maintain ownership of your home. By simply emailing your most recent mortgage statement, you'll receive a no-obligation real estate plan. Learn more by calling 1-800-306-1990 or email me your recent mortgage statement to PEAR@RonSiegelRadio.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender. Are you a renter and tired of making monthly payments? Paying off someone else's mortgage? Hey, it's Ron Siegel here to help you stop renting and start owning your dream home with amazing low interest rates. And you could potentially qualify for a $500,000 home for less than $5,000 out of pocket. So stop renting. Start owning with Ron Siegel. Learn more at RonSiegelRadio.com and start owning today. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by rsrmoney.com. The dramatic impact of home ownership on net worth. If you're trying to decide whether to rent or buy a home this year, here's a powerful insight to give you the clarity and confidence you need to make your decision. Every 3 years, the Federal Reserve releases the Survey of Consumer Finances, SCF, which compares net worth for homeowners and renters. The latest report shows the average homeowner's net worth is almost 40 times greater than a renter's. If you're watching us on RonSiegelRadio.tv, any of our socials, or the ABC News and Talk AM 1490 video feed, you're seeing a chart. Homeowner net worth almost 40 times greater. Homeowners $396,200. Renters $10,400. One reason a wealth gap exists between renters and homeowners is because when you're a homeowner, your equity grows as your home appreciates in value and you make your mortgage payment each month. When you own a home, your monthly mortgage payment acts like a form of forced savings, which eventually pays off when you decide to sell. As a renter, you'll never see a financial return on the money you pay out in rent every month. Ksenia Potapov, I'm sure I butchered that name, Economist at First American explains it like this, quote, renters don't capture the wealth generated by house price appreciation, nor do they benefit from the equity gains generated by monthly mortgage payments, unquote. Largest part of most homeowner net worth is their equity. Home equity does more to build the average household's wealth than anything else, according to data from First American Fed and the Federal Reserve. This holds true across different income levels. Again, there's a chart for you showing the housing piece of net worth for all the different income levels. And you can see it's pretty significant. The blue segment in each bar represents how much of a homeowner's net worth comes from their home equity. Based on this data, it's clear no matter what your income level is, owning a home can really boost your wealth. Nicole Boschad, senior economist at Zillow, shares, quote, the biggest asset most people are ever going to own is a home. Home ownership is really that key financial key that helps unlock stability and wealth preservation across the generations. If you're ready to build your net worth, the current real estate market offers several opportunities you should consider. For example, with mortgage rates trending lower lately, your purchasing power may be higher now than it has been in months. And with the more inventory coming to the market, there are more options for you to consider. A local real estate agent can walk you through the opportunities. Hey, just give me a call and let's take a look at what you have in equity. Legitimately have an equity in your property so you can make a legitimate decision. Again, that's the real-time real estate segment brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. Continue our conversation. We are chatting. Chris Karalis, Advantage First Financial is the company. And there's Chris, I'll put it this way. It's a shame there's a big need for your services.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, no, absolutely. It's like an ambulance. No one wants,
yeah,
it's
everyone, so people need them.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that we do, but,
yeah.
But right now I look at it, you're kind of like David fighting Goliath.
Yeah.
Because I look at some people and I hear folks saying, well, I had a 9.99 interest rate and now it's up to 29.9.
Right. And that's becoming more and more common. And you got to think of it as well. There's $1 trillion now in credit card debt. And think about daily compounding interest on $1 trillion.
Yeah, that's massive.
It's massive.
Well, think about daily compounding interest on $36 trillion. Oh, no, that's our national debt, which we get to pay that, right? So, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
But so how do you help folks?
So unfortunately for a lot of Americans right now, they're at a position where they don't know what to do. The credit cards are maxed. The limits have been cut on the cards. They have no way to survive.
Right.
And so right now, a lot of Americans are thinking about bankruptcy and credit counseling. And unfortunately, there's a lot of ramifications. I can never say that word. Ramifications with that. And one, obviously, could put you in a bad spot for 7 to 10 years on your credit report.
Sure.
So what we do when we've been helping Americans is what is called is debt resolution.
Okay.
Now, debt resolution, and we'll talk about this because there was a black eye, something similar about 15 years ago. Now,
sure. Yeah.
Which was called as debt settlement.
Right.
Yeah. And what it allows the consumer a way to negotiate their debt with the creditor. And we provide a service to do that for them. It typically can save the consumer up to 50% on the dollar.
Wow.
Yeah. And
that's
massive. And it can and does stop the daily compounding interest.
That's another big one.
Yes.
Because, you look at it and you say, if you're making your minimum payments on your credit cards, you're probably looking at about 300 years to pay them off.
Sometimes. Yeah. I've seen consumers up to 20, 30 years. And the best thing is any consumer right now could go look at the back of their statement. It will tell them how many years to pay it off.
Well, you think about it at 29%. So you see some of these at 29.99 is what I see on some of them that I'm counseling folks on. That means their debt is doubling every other year.
Yeah. It's mind
right. So if you've got $10,000 in debt and you're just making a minimum payment, you're looking at that doubling probably by this time in 2026.
Right. I want to go on the record as saying this. Credit cards are designed to never be paid off.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they're designed to always have a minimum payment. And if you think about it, it's brilliant.
Sure.
Yeah, for the credit card company.
Yeah, these credit card companies are making a boatload of money that
yes. way. Yeah, $1 trillion in debt. So yeah.
Right. So how does this work? I mean, if I go and call you,
yeah,
am I setting myself up for a lawsuit from the credit my creditors?
So lawsuits can happen, and I have to explain that, but we have the guidance and direction and hopefully keep you out of that. Sometimes if you have a large credit card debt, $25,000 typically where we see it, but it can be lower. You can be sued by a creditor if you choose not to pay your debt.
Sure,
but
they want their money back.
Right, but we are resolving the debt. You are paying back your debt with us, so you have to keep that in mind.
So what's the motivation of the credit card company or the debt or the creditor? If you're trying to resolve the problem, the best they can hope for if they go to court is to resolve the problem.
Correct.
So you're helping them not have that extra expense.
Correct, and go through the motions.
And now I wouldn't say this out loud because we only have 7 listeners, so we're okay. If you talk to a bankruptcy attorney, what are they going to tell you? If you've got $30, $40, $50, $60,000 in debt, they're going to probably say bankruptcy is an option.
Right.
I'm not giving legal advice, but they'll probably say bankruptcy is an option. If you call your credit card company and say, I just spoke to an attorney and they said it might be an option for me to go bankrupt.
Right.
Or maybe I can call Chris. Then Chris becomes a hero for both sides.
Yeah, and I have actually referrals from bankruptcy attorneys and CPAs. So to give you an idea, so I'm getting that type of direction as well. And sometimes we're in a position where I have to send the client the other way as well. So
there's a time for those. I'm not saying those services are great. I'm not saying those services are bad. Right. There is a time and place for everything.
Right.
But from a moral standpoint, Chris, you and I go back long enough. Yep. We both were dealing with the financial crisis.
Oh yeah.
In 2008, 2009, when big banks would fold, but tell the little consumer, you can't go and file bankruptcy. You can't go and get a short sale or renegotiate your mortgage.
Right.
But they were doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is, and I'm not saying that we're in the same situation as we were then.
It's similar,
but there's a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
Right. I don't see the real estate crash because there's so much equity.
Right.
But a lot of people are hurting.
Absolutely. Yeah. And when credit card, like you said, the number one complaint I have from my clients that call in is my credit cards were here, typically like anywhere from 9 to 20%, and now they're at 30%. And
so they've raised the rate, they've lowered the availability.
Yes.
And they want you to just take it.
Correct.
And so now, and I'm going to throw this out again as a consumer advocate. I do that on Ron Siegel Radio all the time. If you go and try and call your credit card company, they likely is that they'll work with you. But the thing is, how much clout do you have? Right? You're John Smith calling into Capital One, and you've got one debt, and their job is to see how ignorant you are and how much they can get from you. Right. That's their job.
Correct.
Now, when you call and you talk to somebody like Chris, okay, Chris isn't Capital One, I'm assuming.
Right.
You're not as big as them.
Right.
But you still got a big portfolio.
Correct.
And you've got negotiators who have relationships with somebody there. It's not John Smith calling in.
That is correct. And typically when we settle a debt, and we'll just use the Capital One because we're talking about, and we do settle with Capital One every single month.
And we're not saying anything's wrong with Capital One.
Right.
We just use them as an example.
Correct. But typically, and this is actually a conversation I've seen literally on a Monday where, John will call Mike and say, from our back end to Capital One and say, hey,
so we've got two back ends talking to each other.
But hey, John, did you see the game? No. How was your daughter? How was the birthday party? Hey, what do you got today? We have $5.7 million today. We're looking to settle. Can you do it for about 47 cents? Oh man, we can't do that, but we could do 48. Are you interested? And that's the power, because it's a large amount of volume and they're willing to get that off their books.
Sure. And it becomes better for the creditor.
Right. And
I'm going to tell you why it's better for the creditor when we come back. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. Reach me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Are you a renter and tired of making monthly payments? Paying off someone else's mortgage? Hey, it's Ron Siegel here to help you stop renting and start owning your dream home with amazing low interest rates. And you could potentially qualify for a $500,000 home for less than $5,000 out of pocket. So stop renting. Start owning with Ron Siegel. Learn more at ronsiegelradio.com and start owning today. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
Are you earning a safe, secure 10+% return on your investments? Is your credit score over 800? Are you living in the home of your dreams or simply where you think you can afford? If the answer to any of these questions is no, what are you doing about it? Text ATP to 79564. Complete a 3-minute complimentary survey and the area trusted professionals of Ron Siegel Radio will reach out to you to develop a success strategy for you. Again, all you need to do is text ATP to 79564.
Are you like many of your neighbors trying to figure out how to pay off your debts so you could retire someday? Build bigger savings. Invest in opportunities. Visit rsrnodebt.com. Debt will destroy 50% of Americans from being able to retire earlier and with more. What if you could have a guaranteed program that could show you how to eliminate all of your debt in 10 years or less? All without having to spend more each month than you spend right now. Yes, that's correct. All without spending more from your checkbook each month than you are today. Get your free analysis today to see if you qualify. Visit rsrnodebt.com. Log on today for your free analysis. rsrnodebt.com. No purchase necessary. The free analysis takes only 2 minutes. rsrnodebt.com. Ron Siegel Radio is your home and mortgage connection. Go to rsrnodebt.com. rsrnodebt.com. Are you tired of paying rent? Are you tired of paying someone else's mortgage? Do you know qualified folks can potentially purchase a $500,000 home for less than $5,000 out of pocket? Ron Siegel can help qualified people purchase their own home at amazing interest rates. If you're tired of paying someone else's mortgage, reach out to Ron today at ronismylender.com. That's ronismylender.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender. Do you know a homeowner experiencing divorce? Do you know a real estate reference in the divorce decree could cost tens of thousands of dollars? A certified divorce mortgage planning and real estate report could save you thousands of dollars, and it's free from your local certified divorce lending professional. Reach out to Ron today. ronismylender.com. Again, ronismylender.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Your Credit Matters segment today being brought to you by creditsanitizer.com. You have a credit report and it is wrong. What are you doing about it? How a New Year's spending fast can help you get back on track financially. Inflation got you down and you're feeling the pressure of holiday gift giving and spending? If so, you're not alone. According to the Deloitte survey, U.S. consumers planned on spending $1,652 over the holidays. 14% year-over-year increase from 2022. Might not even been any extra gifts. It might have just been inflation. And as you feel the pinch of getting less for more, you might be racking up some debt on your credit card. Enter the holiday debt hangover. It happened. The deep regret of going overboard is sinking in, and now you're saddled with a credit card balance you wish you would have disappeared tomorrow. Now, not to fret, here's how a spending fast in the new year can help you get back on track with your finances. Come up with the rules for your spending fast. For the unacquainted, a spending fast is when you hit the pause button on your spending. I don't think I've bought anything from Amazon all year. There are no hard, fast rules, and how you want to go about it is entirely up to you. That being said, here's one way you can go about it. Commit to not spending either during the weekdays or the weekends. Set a time frame, 2 weeks, a month, whatever. Set parameters on when you can spend money. Allow yourself to spend with gift cards you already have. If you spend money on non-essentials, such as a birthday gift, set a limit. Unsubscribe to social media accounts and newsletters. Give yourself a jail-free card once a month or so to make it more manageable. Freeze your cards. Yes, this might be a scary thought, but consider freezing your credit cards, which blocks you or anyone else for that matter from using your credit card. Many card issuers let you do this for free and with a click of a button on your app. When you attempt to spend fast, it can prevent you from any spending temptations. Besides putting a lock on your cards, you can unlink your credit cards from your digital wallets or delete payment platforms and digital wallets altogether. Why? As they say, it makes it easy to do the right thing and hard to do the wrong thing. So if you're trying to avoid unnecessary spending, add some friction that makes it harder for you to use that plastic. Note that this is different from freezing your credit. Different completely. What you need to do with each of the consumer credit bureaus. A credit freeze prevents any party from accessing or viewing your credit. Focus on paying off your credit cards. While you're on your spending freeze, consider going hard on repaying your debt. To start, gather 3 tidbits of information on each credit card: creditor, balance, APR, payment due date. Then aim to pay off your cards as soon as you can. You can employ several different popular holiday debt payoff strategies, like the debt snowball or avalanche, balance transfer cards. Those might be good in some instances. Debt consolidation. Remember, pay your credit cards the right way. rsrccpayment.com. rsrccpayment.com. Hit the autosave button. Set up a separate account and save for next year's holidays. Do regular check-ins. Cleanall3.com. Cleanall3.com. You get a copy of your credit report on a regular basis. And that's a real credit report. It costs a little money, but it is a real credit report. That is Your Credit Matters, brought to you by creditsanitizer.com. You have a credit report. It is wrong. What are you doing about it? Continuing our conversation, Chris Karalis is with us. Advantage First Financial is the name of the company. Chatting about resolving your debt. And I'm going to share something with you as we chat with Chris. Lending institutions have something called a reserve they have to have. If they have a performing debt, the reserve for the lending institution is significantly lower than the reserve required for non-performing debts, for people that are not making their payments. So think about this concept. If you go to a company like, if you can't afford to make your credit card payments, your auto payments, your whatever payments you have, can't afford to make them. That's called a non-performing debt, and it hurts the lending institution. In the last segment, Chris spoke about the idea of his back office calling the lender, the financial institution back office, making a deal to get this back on track. That gets it back into being a performing debt. May not be the full amount,
Right.
but it's performing.
Right.
Saves a lot of money.
Right.
And it does. So you save money, and it's a win for the creditor.
Correct.
Right.
They get the debt resolved. They get it off their books. Yeah, it is. It's a win-win for everyone.
It's a win-win for everyone.
Yes.
And the other part of it is if it's a collection company. So again, hypotheticals. I'm not just throwing things out in the air. Capital One has a debt with you for $25,000. They say, okay, we're not going to get paid. They sell it to collection agency X.
Right.
They sell it $5,000 maybe, 10
Sure.
cents on the dollar,
Yeah.
20 cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
So if they sell it for 20% of that, $25,000, 20% of my math's right, that's $5,000. Now Chris's company comes in and says, I'll give you 47 cents. Okay, I can't do the math on that. I'm going to say 50 cents.
Yeah, sure.
So they had $5,000 that they paid for it, and now you settle it $12,500. Is the collection company unhappy about that? They're happy.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But the average Joe doesn't get that accomplished.
Right.
A company that's doing, because you made a comment in the last segment, you guys are calling and saying, okay, I got $5 million to settle.
Yeah.
You're bundling it.
Correct.
A percentage of those people are not going to pay the bill.
Right.
Right?
Right.
A percentage of them are going to pay the bill.
Yep.
It's all planned.
Yes. Yes. And the best news is for people to realize, I don't want to think this is, I don't want to go through collections. No, we are not we're not a collection company. We are a debt resolution company, and we're going to get you, you're going to be talking right to the creditor directly. And the best news about this, Ron, is to think about this. If you have $1,000 in credit card debt, that's going to take you 17 years to pay off. That's your minimum payment. Here's the good news. We might be able to resolve this debt for you in 60 months or less, probably for about $500. And that would be your new payment.
Wow.
So we're putting a lot, and that's
so it's 60 months or less, $500. You're doing the payment based on a $500 balance.
correct.
You said it was $1,000 card.
Yeah.
So if you're not making $500 a month payments, it's $5.
Well, no. What I'm saying is if your minimum payments were $1,000.
Oh, if your minimum payments,
yeah. So we're talking maybe 50, 60, 70,000.
Gotcha. Okay.
So you're going to pay that for 17 years.
Right.
If not longer.
Now I understand what you're saying.
We could typically resolve that in 60 months or less with the creditors.
How long is it going to take you to resolve this stuff, Chris?
Typically 3 to 6 months.
3 to 6 months for resolution.
Yeah, for resolution when we get that set up with the creditor. Typically 3 to 6 months, and you're typically completely out of debt in 60 months or less.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what's this going to do to my credit score?
So initially, unfortunately, most of my consumers are not in a good position with credit. So it's kind of a moot point. But those that still have good credit in this, they are going to take a short-term negative effect on their credit.
So if you have good credit, it's going to hurt you. If you have bad credit, you're already there.
Correct.
Right?
But there's no long-term negative effect on credit. It's not a bankruptcy. It is not credit counseling. There's no public record. So typically our consumers at about the 6-month mark start seeing improvements on their credit.
Because they're making payments again.
Correct. And the accounts are getting resolved.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So now the accounts can be closed to paid to with zero balance. And then once that's done, obviously it's a positive on the credit report.
So then it shows that it was paid in full.
Yes.
Because you've negotiated. Now you're negotiating with all of my creditors at once, or is it each one individually, or how does that work?
Typically, the answer is yes to both. Everyone's situation is different, but typically we try and get everything negotiated within the first 3 to 6 months.
Okay. So I might see some of them that are negotiated real quick.
I've seen them in 24 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, it all depends on the creditor and the condition of the account. But when we get a phone call with a consumer, we always say typically 3 to 6 months. We don't want to set a false expectation, but it usually.
Okay, so here's the biggie.
Uh-huh.
What's this going to cost me?
Here's the best thing about it. So this is the way you got to look at it. If we were to do a 60-month, okay, now there is a fee that's built in, and it's built into your payment. Typically, it's right around anywhere from 5.5 to 6.5% interest.
Okay.
The way to look at it, if you were to amortize it, but it's about 25% of the total debt and fees. So that's a way to look at it.
And so what happens then if you go and settle this at, I don't know the quickest way for us to do this analysis, Chris.
Uh-huh.
So I've got $50,000 in credit card debt.
Yes.
And you get that settled for $22,000.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pay $22,000, and I'm going to pay that over a 60-month period.
Yep.
And I'm paying you guys a percentage over that period of time.
Correct.
Is that included in the $22,000?
It's all included in there. Yeah, everything's included in that, and we give you a breakdown on it. So the debt, you got to realize
So it doesn't matter if I pay you all at one time or if I pay you over 60 months.
The good news is there is no prepayment penalty. So
if I go and refinance my house and I can get $22,000 off of that refi,
you could.
I could pay that whole thing off and be done in.
You could in fact do that. Yes. Yeah.
45 days.
Yeah. So the fees we would actually disclose the fees. Every situation is different. So if you had $50,000, the fee, the way to look at it is, for sake of argument, if your payment was $1,000, sake of argument, and that's a monthly payment, realistically, you'd be looking to a payment probably near $500 a month. That would include all fees, all costs, everything together. We would give a total breakdown in that.
So it's all disclosed, and it's half, give or take. I mean, we're not going to hold it exactly, but half of what you're paying right now.
In most cases, yes.
Gives you a chance to breathe.
Yeah.
Might be able to sleep at night.
Yeah, and have cash in your pocket.
Don't go spending it again, because you and I have seen that way too many times.
Well, the funny thing is, most of my clients start getting credit card offers again within the first year.
Don't do that. We've seen that before. I was in the subprime world. helping people save their houses and say, don't build up your credit card debt, because we're going to give you a 2-year loan or a 3-year loan, and don't go back in debt. Call them back in 2 years and they're in debt again.
Right. Yeah.
So you got to learn to change your habits. This is a tool. Right. And it's all a matter of where you want to go with the tool. If you want more information on this, if you want to meet Chris, give me a call at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Be happy to put you in touch with Chris Karalis and his team over there at Advantage First Financial, and maybe they'll give you a little breathing room. And as always, we ask, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A big thanks to Josh and Sean who are engineering us today. And, of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.